Ahoy, this is Zdenka. What are the best camera settings on the newly released iPhone 17 Pro? Can you modify the camera control button? Can you explain all the features and settings? Yes, I can. And not only that, I'll add a lot more. I'll show you lots of footage and photos, and I'll give you my best tips when it comes to photography and filmmaking. The camera control button has been added to iPhone 16 Pro. It's also on the iPhone 17 Pro. When you single press, the camera app opens up. When you single press again, you will take a photo. If you long press, you will record a video. When you gently press and hold, you will pull out the aperture controls. When you scroll, you can lower the aperture, which will give you a blurry background, or bring the aperture up, which is going to give you a less blurry background. Bigger portion of the image will be in focus. If you double press, all the camera controls will pop up. You just scroll what you want to select and press one time to adjust the settings. These are the default control camera button settings. All of this can be customized. Let's go to settings, scroll down to camera, hit that. And right at the top, we have system settings. Let's hit the camera control. By default, when you press the camera control button, the native camera app will open up. You can change it to something else here. What I sometimes change it to, for example, is the Blackmagic camera app that I prefer using for video. You can also disable the button completely to do nothing. Let's go back. If you are finding that you are accidentally always pressing the button and it just keeps opening the camera app, you can change it from single click to double click. By default, the screen has to be on for the button to launch the camera app. Here is a choice to disable this if you want to simply open up the camera even faster when the screen is off. Controls will take you to where you can customize what controls you want to have in the menu. The default gesture used is a light press. You can also enable swipe. Honestly, I tried it. I did not like it. The light press is just enough. Here are all the controls. You can disable the ones you don't need. What Clean Preview does is basically hide app controls when you're making the changes. Let me show you the difference. Here it is enabled, and here it is disabled. The controls stay. Lock, focus, and exposure I would enable. When you press and hold it, it will lock, focus, and exposure, and then you can still make changes. This works like any other camera. I would keep it on. The next is Launch Visual Intelligence. Keep it on. Don't open the camera app. When you press and hold, this page will pop up. On the left, you can use ChatGPT to get your answers or take a photo of an object. Once you take the shot, it will tell you what it is, where to buy it, and so on. If you're a busy parent or a busy business person, you just tap Add to Calendar, and it will automatically schedule it for you in Google Calendar. Now that is something I really like. Accessibility is the last setting for the camera control button. Here you can adjust the strength of the press. You can make it lighter or firmer. Below you can adjust double light press speed and the double click speed. So this was everything when it comes to the camera control button. Do me a favor, give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying this tutorial and you are getting value out of this video. And please consider subscribing, as it really helps the algorithm and it allows me to create more tutorials just like these. In this next section, I'm going to explain camera settings. I will also show a whole bunch of things you can do in native camera app. The first setting we have is Photographic Styles. Here you can choose any of these styles that you can customize further. If you drag the middle dot to the left, the image will get more gray, desaturated. If you move it to the right, the image will get more colorful. If you move it up, it will get brighter. And if you move it down, it will get darker. So you can just drag all around to find the right look. As you are moving it around, You can see the tone and color numbers at the top. If you need to reset it to the default, here's the icon next to it. And you can do the same thing in the camera app, which would be actually more practical, as you can customize the look based on what you're taking photos of. You just hit the dots at the right top corner, and there you have it at the bottom. Now I can tweak the look based on what I'm seeing, what I will be taking photos of. This helps you when you want to avoid editing, if you need to post or share the photos fast, so you can get as close to the final look as possible. If you prefer to do your own editing, just like I do, it's best to keep it on the default, which is balanced and true to life look. Let's move to the next setting, which is record video. Once you get there, you will see all these choices to set as the default setting for quick take video. What's that? When you're in photo mode, you just press to take a photo. If you press and hold, you will record video. You can even lock it by dragging it to the side. That is called a quick take video. So here in the setting, you can select what default resolution and frame rate you want to record in. Default is set to 4K at 24 frames per second. Show PAL formats is next. If you live in a country where PAL is used, that applies to you. I live in Canada, so I don't need this. Enhanced stabilization is on by default. Let's keep it there as we all want a stable video. Action mode, lower light is next. It is off by default. What does it do? Here I'm in video mode, it's a day. I will hit those dots here and there. Is action mode. This will give me very good stabilization. The trouble is when you're filming in low light. This new setting allows you to use action mode in low light by decreasing the stabilization a bit, but giving you a better picture. If you don't care about the picture quality, you just want stable video, keep it off. If you are after a better picture and don't mind less stabilized footage, turn it on. You will know it's enabled when this icon for action mode appears here next to flash. HDR video is on by default. It will record 10-bit high dynamic range video, including Dolby Vision up to 120 frames per second. It works in video, slow motion, and cinematic mode. What's the difference? Well, here is a video recorded in HDR. And here is a video recorded with HDR mode off. Let's place it side by side so you can pick the look you prefer. Auto FPS is off by default. Let's explain this feature. If you are filming in low light conditions and you are getting too much noise, it just doesn't look the way you want, when you enable this, it will reduce the frame rate to 24 frames per second. It will improve the low light video, but also optimize the frame rate of 60 frames per second video based on scene motion. You will get more motion blur, but better quality. You can choose if you want to enable it for 30 frames per second video only, or both 30 and 60 frames per second. Lock camera is on by default. I would keep it that way. If you disable this, the camera might automatically switch lenses as you film video, and you are not going to get a consistent look. The last setting here is lock white balance. Keep it on, as this will keep the same color no matter where you move. Let's leave record video setting and go to record slow-mo. The highest resolution 4K at 120 frames per second is on by default. If you need slower slow motion, 240 frames per second, you have to lower the resolution to 1080p. The default setting for record cinematic is 4K at 24 frames per second. If you need 30 frames per second, it's here. If you need lower resolution, 1080p at 30 frames per second is the only option. Record sound has a default setting set to spatial audio, so all around. Other choices here are stereo and mono. Allow audio playback is a very useful setting. Let's say you're playing a music from a Bluetooth speaker and your friends are having a lot of fun, they start dancing, you want to record that. Unfortunately, once you hit the record button, the music stops playing. This setting, when turned on, allows recording while the music is playing. The last setting here is wind noise reduction. Let's just keep it on. Let's leave audio settings and go to formats. Right at the top, we have camera capture options, high efficiency, and most compatible. High efficiency is a newer HEIF, HEVC format, and it is on by default. Keep it there as this format allows you to use cinematic video, HDR, and 4K at 60 frames per second video and higher. I would only use the most compatible one that gives you JPEG for photos and H.264 for video in case I run into issues with compatibility. Photo capture settings are next. To get highest photo quality, keep it at 24 megapixels. Not all photos, however, will be at 24 megapixels. Photos taken with night mode, macro, flash, or portrait lighting, 5x zoom and up, will be saved only as 12 megapixel photos. Let's move on to ProRAW and resolution control. ProRAW retains more data in highlights and shadows, so if you are planning on printing the photos, it's a good idea to shoot in this format. For posting on socials, HEIF is all you need. Let's go to ProRAW format and keep the JPEG lossless on as it is the most compatible. Just in case you are wondering, JPEG XL is a newer format that has improved compression and also gives smaller file sizes. Video capture has one setting, and that is Apple ProRes. This format is aimed mainly for professional production. The files will be huge though, and you need external memory card to record there, just like with this one. I'll link it below for those interested. If you want to still get high quality files and record internally with much smaller files, download Blackmagic Camera app, which is completely free. I have a tutorial on how to use this app. I'll link it below for those interested. Preserve settings are next. Here I have everything enabled. The reason is simple. When you take your time and you set everything in your camera app and you get a phone call, you need to close the camera app. Once you finish the phone call and open the camera app, all of these options turned on will make sure that all the settings are still there. If you have it off, the camera resets to default every time you close the app. Use volume up for burst is on, and that is a great feature. If you take photos of fast-moving objects, you just press the volume button and it will take a whole bunch of photos. Then you can select the one you like. Scan QR codes and show detected text is on. It's self-explanatory. Let's go to the composition. Grid and level is a good idea to keep on, as it will help you with keeping the horizon straight, and it will also help with framing the shot. I think I have a tutorial on composition. I'm gonna link it below. Mirror front camera is off. I will turn it on because if I keep it off and mix photos and footage with the rear camera and front cameras, the front photos will be flipped. View outside of frame is next. I don't suggest turning it on as it can mislead framing and then you end up with chopped body parts. Let's go to indicators. By default, only the flash icon is enabled. If you want the other three, you have to tap here in the app to pull them out. I know Apple is going after cleaner and emptier look. However, I will enable them all. So now when I'm in the app, I just tap here, which is faster than going inside this panel. Photo capture is next. And there are some important settings as well. Let's go to Fusion Camera. Here you see additional lenses that are enabled and default 24mm one-time zoom setting. What does it mean? When you tap on the main camera, you will switch between 28, 35, and 24mm. The default is set to 24mm. If you prefer 28 or 35mm as default, you can change it here. Portraits in photo mode is next. When you take a photo of a person, dog, or a cat, you can apply a portrait effect after you take the shot. I like that. Sometimes I don't want to be only taking photos in portrait mode. This gives great flexibility. Prioritize faster shooting is off, and I would keep it that way, as quality should always be the priority. I would only use it if I was taking action photos and I simply saw that they are not sharp but rather blurry. Lens correction is very helpful. It helps to straighten distorted edges with ultra-wide camera. Macro control lets you take macro photos when you get closer to the subject. Lens cleaning hints will let you know when it's time to clean the lens, and Save Captures to Photo Library allows you to save photos to your library when taken with Messages camera. Until now, we have covered camera control button and camera settings. What is left to do? Let's go through the native camera app. When you open it up, you will get to photo or video mode. Let's scroll all the way to the left and start with time lapse, which is filmed in 1080p at 30 frames per second. You can zoom here up to 8 times. The only setting you can adjust here is the exposure value. iPhones generally overexpose a little bit, so if you see that there are not too many details in highlights, bring it down a bit. I usually go to -0.7. You can also select your own custom exposure when you tap on the screen and bring the sun slider down. You can also lock focus and exposure. For time lapses, you want to use a tripod. If you want to film time lapses with more control, again, it's worth learning how to use Blackmagic camera app. Let's move to Slo-Mo. When you record slow motion with rear cameras, you can film 120 frames per second slow motion in 4K or slower 240 frames per second slow motion in 1080p. You can film with 1 time main camera or 2 times. You can also digitally zoom up to 3 times. The selfie camera offers only 120 frames per second in 1080p. The only 2 controls you have here are flash or continuous light and exposure value. Stay away from the flash as much as possible. Only use it if you don't have any other light sources, as it creates a really flat look. Cinematic mode is next. You can record with the main 1-time camera or 2 times telephoto rear camera. You can also digitally zoom up to 3 times. Let's cover rear cameras first, then I'll talk about the selfies. Is it perfect? No, it's still only digital, but let me walk you through this to get the best results. The highest resolution offered is 4K at 24 or 30 frames per second. The controls offered here are flash, aperture, and exposure. The only thing I want to talk about is the aperture. As this is digital, it's not going to be perfect. There are sometimes smudged edges. You have to really play with it. The good thing is that you don't really have to select an aperture before you start filming. You can always adjust it afterwards. It will also suggest aperture with the dot. The lower the number, the more blur in the background you are going to see. However, that sometimes brings the smudged edges, usually in the hair area. Once you are done filming, you can just zoom in a bit to check and then adjust the aperture for the best result. When you tap on the screen and see this square, that means it's in focus. When you tap and see these round corners, that means that it's tracking the subject. And you can also lock the tracking if you tap again. All of this can also be done after you film the clip. Let's hit manual tracking. When I play the video, I can now tap on the subject I want in focus, and then I can select another subject. Keyframe is being created on the timeline. If you change your mind, you can always hit the keyframe and delete. F is for controlling aperture. Here is where you can change the value. Let's enable the selfie camera. I must say that I really love the ability to switch between horizontal and vertical mode. It looks way more natural when you hold the phone, as you don't see the arm up you would normally see when you turn the phone. It's also more comfortable to hold. The next mode is video. There are 4 things I want to cover here. Let's hit frame rates first. Here you can film in log or HDR 4K up to 30 frames per second internally. If you want to film in 60 or 120 frames per second, again, you will need external memory. Other option would be filming with Blackmagic camera app that will give you smaller file sizes. You also get slow motion, 120 frames per second in 4K. You can also digitally zoom up to 24 frames per second. If you need great stabilization, you can enable action mode. Just keep in mind, you're not going to get 4K. It will be 2.8K resolution up to 60 frames per second. When you enable dual capture, you get the picture-in-picture frame. You can move your selfie camera all over the screen. This is available in 4K, 24 or 30 frames per second. Dual capture is also available in selfie mode. Macro mode is here as well to be able to get beautiful macro videos. Let's take a look at photo mode, as there are some things to point out as well. First of all, here is where you can switch between HEIF format, RAW, and photo size. One thing to mention is that if you film a video in a video mode and you need to reach even bigger digital zoom, film it here in photo mode, as you can reach up to 40 times digital zoom. In standard video mode, it's going to be only up to 24 times. I would only use it if I had to record something far away, as the quality will be very poor, very pixelated. Macro mode is here as well, as you can take macro shots. If you, however, want to bring the macro shots to the next level, I would suggest reflex 244mm telephoto lens with macro extensions, as the difference is day and night. And yes, all reflex lenses are compatible with iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. I have videos about them, I'll link them below. You can also take portrait photo in photo mode, no need to go to portrait mode anymore. And the same thing when it comes to portrait mode. Live mode is here. When this is enabled, once you take the shot, you can create loop, bounce movement, or long exposure out of this shot. Photos can be converted into spatial scene. The icon is right here. Aspect ratio is next. Let's talk about this one. 1:1, 4:3, or 16:9 are the choices. I get frequently asked what to use, 4:3 or 16:9. For portraits and vertical shots, I like to use 4:3. For landscapes with really nice scenery, I prefer 16:9 as I see more of the location. Here's a quick tip when it comes to taking night photos. If you will be using night mode, always use a tripod. The shutter stays open for several seconds depending on how dark it is. If you are taking photos handheld, you don't have a tripod and find that it's simply shaky, you cannot hold it steadily, turn it off and use available light sources, especially if you are taking portraits. Now let's talk about the selfie photo. As I already showed earlier, you can take photo in a vertical or horizontal position without turning the phone around. There are also new center stage features called auto zoom and auto rotate. When this is on, once more people enter the frame, the camera will automatically zoom out to fit more people, or change from portrait to landscape mode if there are even more people to fit. Portrait mode is next. It is the same as in photo mode, so let's just move on to spatial mode. Spatial mode allows you to capture photos and videos with depth, creating this 3D-like look. When it comes to photos, you can create this look with photos taken just in photo mode. If you compare regular video with spatial video, you can see the difference, mainly in highlights. I actually like this look, to be honest, when it comes to video. Panorama is very simple. Just move around to take the shot. My favorite way to use this mode is if I want to capture larger area and simply cannot get further away, to use ultra-wide camera. Give it a thumbs up if you found this video helpful in any way, and don't forget to subscribe for more, as I will be covering photo and video editing on this smartphone. See you in one of those videos next. Ciao, ahoj.